2023 vintage in Napa Valley, one of the exciting things for winemakers was that it was a long, cool growing season that for us was just refreshing after coming from a series of years that had more challenges. Years like 20 where we had fires and 21 where we had heat and small crop yields, and then 2022, which was really challenging, primarily what they referred to as the heat dome around Labor Day in 2022. 23 was different. We had all this rain that provided throughout the growing season. We didn't have to worry about drought. We didn't have to worry about fruit damage due to heat. And from a winemaking perspective, our hand was never forced in the sense of having to make a decision to pick something because next week was going to be 110 or whatever other potential climatic disaster might come up. It was like just a refreshing change, and we got to pick fruit when we felt like it was fully and perfectly ripe, what we consider our specifications of ripeness. And the resulting wines are, aromatic and fresh, but also really textured and great richness and density. And they still have personality, and each vineyard shows different vineyard characteristic, but just across the board, they're great wines. Where in surrounding vintages, there may have been some sites that were more successful than others. In 23, we really had a sense that we had the opportunity for every site to excel and be successful, which feels really good. And then from the wine standpoint, once we got the wines into the cellar, we also had the opportunity to let the wines do what they wanted in the cellar too, because we could bring wines in and allow them to spend multiple weeks on the skins and the tanks to get exactly the amount of extraction we wanted over a really long period. Whereas in some years, heat events might force our hand, as I said, or encourage us to pick, which might mean as you have a more compact harvest and more things happening in a shorter period of time, you might have to move a lot out of tank before you want to, and we just didn't have to do that in 23. So it was a fairly relaxing year for winemakers. And then, of course, the wines themselves are really delicious. There's some definite standouts in 23. Yes, I think even though wines across the board were awesome, there were some wines that are just singing and are going to be incredibly delicious on release and age really well. Social Currency, which is always a special bottling for us. That wine with the different vineyard components that were blended into that, each one of them being so successful that year, it came together that we've got this incredibly special bottling for Social Currency. Really excited about that. One of the other standouts, I think, is our Shy Society bottling. So the Shy Society, or the Shy Series, is a special bottling we do just for our Shy Society clients. So those are, basically the Shy customers who buy our wines year in and year out as part of the Shy Society. They have access to the Shy Series Cabernet, which comes from the Bale Mill Creek Vineyard in St. Helena, which is a blend of multiple blocks at Bale Mill, including Cabernet and Cabernet Franc. And that Shy Series from Bale Mill in 2023 is another just super detailed, nuanced wine with incredible texture to it. For me, one of the real standouts. And then our other single vineyard wines, phenomenal Switchback Ridge, Stelzner, Oakville Ranch, Melanson, and then the Napa Cab, got to benefit from having all these, incredible sources for 23 too. So overall, just a really wonderful vintage. Oakville Ranch, we get 5 different blocks, 3 blocks of Cabernet Franc, 2 blocks of Cabernet Sauvignon, and those, some combination of that makes the Oakville Ranch Cabernet Franc bottling every year. Both on the winemaking side, but also for the whole rest of the team, one of our favorite wines every year, just because it's such a distinctive, unique site. And in 23, a really outstanding version of that. The 3 Cabernet Franc blocks are always coming a little bit later than the Cabernet Sauvignon up there, or I should say largely because of the exposition. The Cabernet Sauvignon blocks get more direct afternoon sun, so they tend to just ripen earlier. So as we're walking those blocks and tasting fruit, the Cabernet Franc, which for the most part comes from a bowl that they call the Vista block. There's another called Roberts, which is just tucked up right below at the base of Pritchard Hill, because Pritchard Hill really kind of drops down into the plateau that forms Oakville Ranch. But as you're walking those blocks, tasting fruit, the Cabernet Franc from the 3 different blocks that we get is all distinct and different, largely the tannin structure, but also flavor profile from the 3. One of them, the Roberts block, much more of a interesting menthol character. The Vista North block, it's a clone 332 Cabernet Franc, really beautiful dark fruit and vibrant acidity. And then the Vista South, which is what they call the Saunders clone, which is really the Dieter clone of Cabernet Franc, which originated from my family's Cabernet Franc vineyard. Also super vibrant acidity, much more of a brooding, dark Cabernet Franc character. Those in combination with Cabernet Sauvignon from the Terraces block and the Plateau block just make for a really outstanding Cabernet Franc blend. Switchback Ridge Vineyard, another really exciting combination of different blocks. We have this beautiful 30-year-old Cabernet Sauvignon hillside, also Old Vine Merlot, so about 30-year-old Merlot vines, and then some Old Vine Petite Syrah planted in the mid-50s. So we get this wonderful combination of dark Cabernet Sauvignon character, that hillside, structured, mineral-laden fruit with some textured, plush Merlot, and then just about 1% of Petite Syrah, which adds, it's just a real sort of a fingerprint or a thumbprint from Switchback, and to me represents the historic combination of all these different varieties at that site. From a growing perspective, all the 3 of those varieties come in at very different times, which is a lot more fun than it is challenging. It's really exciting to work with these different blocks at different times. So Merlot always comes in first, this red fruited, floral, rose petal, super textured, beautiful Merlot from these really deep alluvial soils. And then the Cabernet Sauvignon rolls in pretty shortly thereafter, usually sometime in the next week. And Petite Syrah much later in the season, giving the opportunity for those thick Petite Syrah skins to resolve some of the tannin and bring up the range of spice and blue fruit that we see in that variety. So 2023 Stelzner, Stag's Leap District. This is eastern hillside, right at the base of the Palisades that would form Atlas Peak. Stag's Leap is a cooler area, and the bowl that it's in is quite a bit cooler than surrounding areas of Napa, that portion of the valley, which gives the benefit, one, of a slightly longer time on the vine, but more importantly, gives the fruit really refined red fruit character and floral aromas and a very, very fine tannin structure. Stelzner is also really special to us because we get to work with our friend Allison Stelzner there, whose family has been farming the vineyard since the mid-60s. And then in conjunction with Matt Harden and the Harden Vineyard Management Company, incredible guys who I think the future of viticulture for Napa Valley and love and life. Yeah, 2023 is a year for us, for the company. We had some really exciting successes of the 2022 vintage, which I think again was a challenging year. I think that we made really exceptional wines, beautiful across the board. And I'm very proud of the wines that we made. Bottled those in early spring in 2023 and got those out to our customers in April. We definitely faced some headwinds, and I think that we came together in a really remarkable way. We made some amazing wines, which I think rival some of the great wines of the world, and that's both because of the growers we work with, the vineyard managers we work with, but also our team loves what we do. We're dedicated to making world-class wines. Beyond the winemaking, we have a team dedicated to our clients. Our hospitality team loves welcoming guests here at the winery, as well as getting the opportunity to visit in their homes across the U.S. and making sure that every bottle that leaves the winery and gets shipped to our customers is flawlessly executed. Each one of us has a really, I think, a unique role here at the winery. It is a small team, and each one of us excels in what we do, and as a whole, we have a huge amount of respect for each other. And maybe most importantly, we just love working together, and we have a lot of fun. But that is because we have a shared vision of what Dakota Shy means and the joy in making great wine and making sure it gets onto our customers' dinner tables where they get to share it with friends and family. That to us is incredibly powerful and satisfying. Yeah, as we wrap up 24, we're looking into 25, really excited about getting this 2023 vintage into bottle in the spring. And then we'll be moving into our famous Shyway tour. So myself and other members of the team are going to be out traveling to various states around the country and would love the opportunity to come pour our wines for you. So if any interest, please reach out and let us know. I just wanted to wrap up by saying how grateful we are to our Dakota Shy base for the support you give us. We love making these wines, but for us the greatest thrill is the appreciation that you have for them and the enthusiasm that you have for Dakota Shy, for our staff, and for the wines that we make. Nothing makes us happier than to see a text, an email, or a photo from you talking about how much you've enjoyed the wines and the opportunities you've had sharing them with your friends and family. So thank you all for your support.